I'm going to call the regular meeting of the Lafayette Parish School Board to order and ask that we all rise for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to welcome everyone to our meeting and ask if Dr. Aguilar has any opening comments.
Yes, thank you. Members of the board, although we will be recognizing 3 groups tonight for their donations, I want to give thanks to the many groups, individuals, churches, and organizations for their contributions. Many thanks to organizations like the United Way of Acadiana for their Flood the Love drive. Many schools benefited with school supplies and uniforms. Thank you to the numerous donations from various individuals and churches. Many donations included school supplies, uniforms, toiletries, bottled water, and dry goods. Here are merely 2 examples of generosity. Mr. Charles Hebert was collecting items for the West Side students and had a friend from Florida who wanted to help. He sent Mr. Hebert money and he purchased 2 gift cards for West Side, $300 for West Side Prep and $300 for Westside Primary. Amanda Pontiff drove from Houma, Louisiana, with a carload of school supplies to donate to our homeless director, Dr. Amy Fontenot. Also, many thanks to our students and student athletes who provided the muscle power for delivering and stacking sandbags, removing destroyed flooring and furniture from our many homes, and assisting with the cleanup in flooded houses. It did not matter if it was private, parochial, or public school, children, or homes. Students were visible, assisting everyone they could. And a huge thank you to the LPSS staff for their cooperation and support during a very difficult and uncertain time. It was absolutely amazing to see school staff from across the parish adopt a classroom at Westside to assist with the packing and moving of an entire school in one day. I estimate that there were over 200 staff members assisting with the move. It took the support and cooperation of the NPMOS staff to abruptly vacate their rooms to allow the Westside staff to set up their new classrooms. The warehouse staff and custodians worked as a unit to move K and first grade to Scott Middle and second through 5th grade to NPMOS. Again, thank you to everyone involved during those difficult days. To assist affected families, federal authorities have identified Lafayette Parish as one of 21 parishes to provide free lunch meals through September 30th. Because of the recent flooding, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has authorized the free meal program. The purpose is to provide students with a good meal without parents worrying about payment. This is for all of our LPSS students through September 30th. Mr. Charles Hebert with the LSU Ag Center and a 4-H agent donated several helpful guides. He donated one called After the Storm, a guide to help children cope with the psychological effects of a hurricane. Storm Recovery, a guide for homeowners and managing in tough times, tips for financial and emotional survival. And Managing in Tough Times, Tips for Financial and Emotional Survival. These books are available through the LPSS Homeless Department at Vermilion Conference Center or by contacting the LSU Ag Center at www.lsuagcenter.com. Board members, please join me in congratulating Ernest Gallet Elementary Principal, Ms. Monique Chagua, her students and staff for winning the Alliance for a Healthier Generations National Healthy Schools Award for 2016. Ernest Gallet has joined the ranks of over 300-plus schools across the nation, making healthful changes in the lives of our youth. Each of America's healthiest schools is a best-in-class example of the nationwide movement to create a culture of health at schools. Recently, Northside High's Legal Studies Academy Director, Delonda Richardson, attended a board meeting to announce a Northside mock trial team will be competing in the Yale University's Bulldog Invitational. They will be one of 24 teams across the country invited to participate. They leave on September 30th and plan to return on October 3rd. According to Ms. Richardson, the team has been preparing regarding a criminal case, preparing for both the prosecution and the defendant's sides. The team will not know whether they are representing the plaintiff or the defendant until a later date. Thank you to the following sponsors for making this trip possible: Upper Lafayette, Charlotte Clavier, Brandon Latour, Neuner Pate Law Firm, Buffalo Wild Wings Fundraising, Lisco and Lewis Law Firm, Judge Marilyn Castillo, Attorney Carrie Thomas, Cox Communication, and Joanne Patterson. Congratulations to the students and the director, and we look forward to an update in early October. September is Cancer Awareness Month for several types of cancers. One in particular I would like to bring to everyone's attention is childhood cancer awareness. On September 1st, school staff wore gold shirts to bring awareness to childhood cancers. On September 15th, I am encouraging students and staff to wear gold shirts with jeans and donate $1 for the St. Jude Hospital American Cancer Society, Miles Perrette Center, and the Susan Komen Foundation. And lastly, I wanted to give you an update on student enrollment in the district. As of today, we showed 29,519 students for MFP funding purposes. That number represents about 95 students over the MFP count from October 1 of last year, which was 29,424 students. Total number of students in the district, counting pre-K students, of which we have a little more than 980 pre-K students. So today we are educating a total of 30,499 students in the district. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Aguilar. Before I move on, let me express our gratitude toward the Ove Como JROTC. They were the ones that presented us the colors tonight. We thank them very much. One of the three recognitions Dr. Aguilar mentioned earlier is a recommendation of a donation from Value Teachers and National Life Group to the Lafayette Parish school system, and I'll ask Ms. Sammy to help us with that recognition.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. On Friday, August 26, representatives from the National Life Group and the Value Teachers presented Dr. Aguilar and Principal Lisa Thomas with a check in the amount of $12,250 to be used to assist the staff and students of Westside Elementary School. Joining us tonight, and if you would please come forward, is Andy Walls, Matthew Fitz, and Randolph Richardson from Value Teachers, and they're here to have a photo opportunity with you, Tommy, Mr. Angel, and also Dr. Aguilar. And Mary Morrison, Westside Representative. Thank you all very much. And part of one of the photos you see up there is actually Cindy Babineau. She's retired from LPSS. Her niece works with the National Life Group, and it's because of their communication that they actually hooked up, understanding the flooding that occurred in Lafayette Parish and wanted to assist one of our schools. And that's her family.
While you have the floor, Ms. Samick, why don't you tell us something about the donation from Sabine Parish?
Yes, thank you very much. The administration could not be present tonight, but the slideshow is going to show that administrators from the Sabine Parish school system delivered a shipment of donated goods and supplies to Lafayette Parish School System on Friday, August 26. Superintendent Sarah Ebarb and Food Service Supervisor Rosie Sullivan and Principal of the Career Academy, Charlie Mason, made the trip to make the donation. They came on a bus. I believe a truck arrived a little bit later and delivered more goods. They delivered uniforms and school supplies, which we have taken to our homeless department at the Vermilion Conference Center. It's for distribution. You do not have to be homeless. If you need any supplies, please go by Vermilion Conference Center and ask for whatever you may need in uniform or school supplies. We also received cleaning supplies, food, and clothing, and those goods were delivered to outreach centers in the Youngsville area to help the families in our community. So we thank Sabine Parish very much for their generosity.
And the United Way of Acadiana Crisis Response Grant, Ms. Samick.
Yes, sir. And the third presentation tonight, United Way of Acadiana, I do not believe they're present. However, the United Way of Acadiana awarded over $150,000 in grants to various organizations, including Lafayette Parish School System. Lafayette Parish School System Student Service coordinators Pauline Duplantis and Tanya Hebert completed the grant and were awarded $15,000 to purchase student uniforms, backpacks, and school supplies. If a family is in need of school supplies or uniforms, please contact Dr. Amy Fontenot with the Homeless Education Department at the Vermilion Conference Center. And again, a family does not need to be homeless to receive assistance. Tanya Hebert and Pauline Duplantis would like to present Dr. Aguilar and Tommy Angel with a check for $15,000.
Thank you, Ms. Samick. Okay, next item on our agenda is item 2.4, which is the district calendar adjustments. Mr. Craig?
Yes, sir, Mr. Angel. As everyone probably vividly recalls, we lost 6 days of instruction early in the month of August. And while we meet the instructional requirements based on Bulletin 741, several of the principals had requested that we back up parent-teacher conferences and adjust the first semester grading periods to accommodate the 6 days of instruction we lost. With that in mind, we've moved back. I guess of note is that we've moved parent-teacher conference days from September 14th to September 27th. Those are from 11 to 7 p.m. and backed up the second parent-teacher conference in October to October 25th. Typically, we have 45 days of instruction per grading period. By losing the 6 days, we really have 41 days, but we make these corrections, as you note on the agenda item, and by the end of the second grading period, we will be back on track with our calendar.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the information. West Side Elementary School update. Is it Mr. Bordelon or Dr. Aguilar? Mr. Bordelon?
Good evening, members of the board. Kyle. This on there? Okay. This on it. Kyle Bordelon, Director of Planning and Facilities. I think as everyone is aware, Westside Elementary took on some water during the most recent flooding. We have brought on board to work with us architectural team of architects Beasley Moliere to assess the damages and to begin working on cost estimates to repair the damages. During last week and the previous week, we've had persons from the insurance adjuster and claims office working also there. They are making their own assessments. And tonight I'd like Mr. Albert Moliere from Architects Beasley Moliere to give a short presentation on items that he has come up with so far.
Hello everyone, my name is Albert Moliere. I'm with Architects Beasley Moliere, and as Mr. Bartolon has said, we were asked to take a look at the West Side Elementary School. I'd like to thank y'all for the opportunity to be here. I also have with me Craig Campbell, who is our mechanical engineer, and David Stelly, who is our electrical engineer. This team, Tommy Hughes, Tommy's hiding back here. He's my project manager on this project. This is the team that has been assessing the school and trying to put a cost estimate on the repairs. I brought this aerial photograph just so you can all get an idea of what the school is. But what we learned is that when the water came in, the entire school had water. Further back here was much deeper than it was up in the front. Servo came in and cut all of the gypboard anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet up. Took out a lot of the all of the cabinets that were on the ground. The floor was all buckled up. The entire school, basically, you can kneel down like that, you can see right through it. So what that has done, it has brought us to a point where the repairs passed the threshold of being able to just repair. The school needs to be brought up to current code. Having said that, we have spent a lot of time out there looking and going through things and figuring out square footages and so on and so forth. But where we are at this point for the required scope is that we are looking at putting a price to completely redo all of the floors. They have asbestos flooring in the 1950s buildings, and all of that will have to come out with a special contractor. The 1980s, these classroom wings here were done in the 1950s. This classroom wing was done in 81. The administration was done in 81. The original cafeteria is down here, and the cafetorium was up to this point was added on in 81, and the stage was added here. All of these 1950s buildings actually have plywood on the walls. All of the studs in the walls are wood construction. Even in the 80s edition, all of the walls are of wood construction. Good news is the skeleton is good. All the skeleton is steel frame construction, this being steel tube columns with welded C's spanning every 8 feet across the entire building. And the exterior walls on here actually are those old metal window walls with the metal windows and the doors in it, all welded to the tube steel columns. And they have panels on the bottom of those walls. Well, those panels filled up with water. They're all sealed and so on and so forth. They will be rotted out, and who knows if they have mold in them or not. But it was early on we determined that that those panels would have to come out. Cause the all through the administration area, you know, obviously wherever we have wood framing on an exterior wall, and we got the brick veneer, all of the insulation inside of it, you got the problem of you know, the outside of the wall getting wet, the sheathing getting wet, and not being able to get to it because you're not bringing the brick down. In order to bring the building up to code, we are looking at removing all of the wood inside of the building and replacing it with concrete block, 4-inch concrete block on the interior walls, 6-inch and 8-inch, depending on where it is on the exteriors. They already have a lot of concrete block in this building. It's just partitions between the classrooms. These classrooms here are all metal with the wood infill. So these would all have to come out. This whole area, all of that wood has to come out. The cafetorium, the cafeteria is mostly block. It can be repaired or just cleaned up and new finishes pretty much, except for where they did the addition of the stage. Where we are now, one of the other big tickets that needs to happen to this building is sprinkler system. So we are looking at putting in a new fire sprinkler system into the building. There is none now, and that would be running all through the ceilings and so on and so forth. So it's just kind of like a domino effect. Ceilings come out, put the sprinklers in. All of the electrical was underground coming up into the things. That's all got flooded, so all of the electrical has to be redone. The air conditioning is over 20 years old. It's failing. The condensate lines are all bad, and water's getting all in the building. It's getting all around the sides of it as well. And current code requires that they have fresh air, a certain amount of fresh air coming into the building. So we looked at the existing age of these units and the existing age of the boilers in here, and they're reaching their useful life, if I'm saying that right, Craig? And the rest of the building, the interior parts of the air conditioning system are fan coils that are long, way beyond their life expectancy. So, as part of you know, when we were out there meeting with the different people, it was kind of decided that the air conditioning needs to be redone. And in order to meet code, we need to be able to get the fresh air into the things, and so it kind of steps it up into that category as well. So where we are now, basically, all of the wood walls need to come out and be replaced with the CMU. All new ceilings, all new floors, new electrical, new mechanical, new sprinkler system. Cost-wise, this is just a very preliminary budget. We still, every day, we're going out there checking things, finding new things, and so on and so forth. But I feel pretty comfortable that we've been a little bit conservative on this. And where we are right now, the estimated cost of construction, again preliminarily, is we're right at $5.7 million to put this school, construction-wise, back together. You basically gut it, put it back together, bring it up to code, and basically you'll have a new school. So that's about where we are right now. Anybody have any questions?
When we, perhaps current code covers this or not. Are we going to take this opportunity to run
Somebody's talking over
network cables and wire the school for modern communications? And is that a part of the current code, or is this just part of our plan?
That is not part of the current code, but it might be some of that might be covered under insurance. I understand that we have insurance on this building, and so the insurance would cover anything that was part of the sticks and bricks, the bones of the building, and they have that related to some water damage as well, I believe.
Ms. Morris?
I'm not sure if this is within your area of expertise, but are we going to look at either some type of flood wall or retention pond to prevent flooding of our new school once all the repairs are done?
That has come up, but I think right now we're looking at putting the CMU so that we can clean it at this point.
That's an item that we'd need to discuss with FEMA to see if that's something that they would fund for this site. And we did have a kickoff meeting with FEMA last week, just the kickoff meeting. So I'm sure we will be meeting with them some more in the future.
Ms. Morrison?
Yes, and also I wanted you to communicate with Mayor Morrison because he had some ideas how the City of Scott can partner with Lafayette Parish School Board to build a retention pond, and maybe they could be contracted to do the work and look at the property. So if we could just kind of look at those opportunities where we could save costs.
Anyone else?
Thank you very much, and thank you, Carl.
Thank you.
Item 2.6 on our agenda is award of proposal recommendation RFP number 14-17, Grants Management and Administration for the August 16 flooding. Mr. Guidry or Mr. Bordelon again, I don't know.
Yes, sir. This is an information item which presents the the results of the RFP process. Basically, we had 7 respondents to the RFP to provide grant management administration with regards to FEMA. We're looking for their expertise in order to maximize our FEMA reimbursements with regards to the repairs that will need to be made to get our schools back to their previous status or even in improved status. And we just wanted to make the board aware that we had gone through that process, and the evaluation committee recommended to the superintendent Whit O'Brien's, the firm of Whit O'Brien's, which was accepted, and we have executed a contract with them, and they're ready to get started on Friday. So no time wasted, pretty quick turnaround on the RFP process, and they're ready to begin working with the architect, especially on the West Side project, because it's a lot more involved than some of the other repairs that we're doing. We just wanted to keep the board abreast of the progress we had made in that area.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't make a comment about the speed with which all of this has been done. I know you just made me sign the contract tonight, and you started last week or this week. I don't know when you started, but thanks to you and all of the people that are working on this, Dr. Aguilar and his staff, that we're doing everything we can, not only that, but as fast as possible to get our school children back to normal and everything. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda are time-sensitive introductory items. I will name them. Request for approval of grant submission, Academies in Action, Lafayette Education Foundation grant. Approval of the revised job description, Marketing and Recruitment Coordinator. Bus driver qualifications.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we move all 3 of these time-sensitive introductory items to action.
Second.
second by Mr. Centini. Motion by Mr. Hidalgo that we move the items 3.2, 3, and 4 to the action items. Any questions or comments from members of the public? Members of the board? Madam Secretary will call for the vote.
Are you pulling items? You're pulling items?
8 for, none against.
26?
I bet it's going to get pulled.
Okay.
I bet it's going to get pulled.
Thank you. Okay, I will now read the action items on our agenda, and if any of you want any of them pulled, please indicate so. You're going to write them down. 4.1, request for approval of grant submission, enhancing instruction for special learners. 4.2, request for approval of grant submission, Project Louisiana launch. 4.3, establishing Lafayette Parish school system non-traditional school for the 17-18 school year.
Hold that, please.
Pull number 4.3. 4.4, construction fund budget revision to 15-16. 4.5, capital improvement fund budget revision for 15-16. 4.6, construction fund 2012 limited tax bond fund budget revision number 4 for 15-16. 4.7, South Side High School construction fund budget 15-16. 4.8, South Side High School construction fund budget 16-17. 4.9, sales tax fund final budget revision for fiscal year 15-16. 4.10, special revenue fund budget revision number 4, fiscal 15-16. 4.11, self-funded construction fund budget revision number 4, 15-16 fiscal year. 4.12, approve proposal recommendation Medicaid billing and electronic medical records services, RFP 25-16. Did I get 16? Dean of Students position at MP Moss Prep? We're on third. School fund services final, my computer jumped. School food service final budget revision for fiscal year 15-16. 4.14, approval of revised job description, food service maintenance technician 3. 4.15, approval of revised job description title, food service warehouse coordinator. 4.16, Dean of Students position at MP Moss Prep. 4.17, 2002 half-cent sales tax fund, final budget revision for fiscal year 15-16. 4.18, approval of quotes for Woodvale Elementary walk-in cooler replacement. 4.19, self-funded insurance activity budget revision number 3, final revision for the 15-16 year. $4.20, budget revision to capital improvement fund transfer to the general fund for Truman Early Childhood Center. 4.21, self-funded construction fund budget revision for Judy's Middle waterproofing. 4.22, general fund budget revision number 4 for fiscal year 15-16. 4.23, approval, wait a minute.
Got to refresh again, because have to refresh the screen, we have to move.
This one. Okay. 4.24, approval of the revised job description, marketing and recruitment coordinator. 4.23, request for approval of grants admission, academies in action, Lafayette Education Foundation grant. 424, approval of revised job description, marketing and recruitment coordinator. 4.25, bus driver qualifications.
Pull that, please.
Pull number 4.25. 4.26, approval of all action consent items with the exception of those items pulled.
Mr. President, I move that we approve all action items with the exception of 4.3 and 4.25.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Morrison. Do we have any questions or comments concerning this motion from members of the public? Members of the board?
I have one question.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Mr. Guidry, this includes a budget revision for the food services, and it makes me recall we had once discussed looking into alternative processes for food services. And have we ever made any progress on that or done a cost-benefit analysis on maybe more modern or different ways to provide tasty and healthy meals to students?
We had gotten it to the point where there, the vendor that we were talking to was actually supposed to visit with us and present us with several different meals for us to taste test, so to speak, and that's sort of where it left off. I don't know, Ms. Sherville, if you can give us an update as to where we are in that process.
Good evening, Renee Sherville, Director of Child Nutrition Services. Yes, we actually did conduct a visit of the charter school in Youngsville to see their process, and we did get in contact with those folks. We attempted to set up. We did do 2 conference calls to see what they would offer, and I did a little investigation to see what their menu plans were like and that type of thing. It ended up during the holidays. We tried to. We had a meeting set up that had to be canceled. I believe we had a snow day or some kind of weather day, and it pushed us back, and then we all lost touch. But we certainly can visit that again. I don't know that we would want to go totally to that type of food service because it involves much packaging, not necessarily food preparation on site. And of course, we bid out our milk and bread and that kind of thing, for the whole year. So we would have to start it way in advance if we would want to do that type of thing. As it turns out, though, we are currently packaging a lot of our own items because we began a vending program over at Early College Academy where we purchased a machine that does seal cold foods. And so we are going in that direction ourselves. That would eliminate a lot of maybe some labor cost, and but to go to that type of system totally, I don't know if Lafayette Parish is ready for that yet. We're quite big, to be able to do that, freezer storage space for one thing, and then delivery from a company that is out of state for that type of food. I don't know if it would be as cost effective as what we can provide now, but it's certainly something that we could consider at some point.
Right, I think it's worth bringing back up again, and especially if we can develop an RFP that gets some competitive bids. I understand it would need to be some sort of transition process. Maybe we could do a pilot program at one of the schools and see how it goes. But just like with the school bus routing software, for instance, in a $21 million budget, we anticipate saving a couple percentage points, which ends up being a significant amount of money. If we could do that here with this budget, maybe we can save a couple more $1 million. So, thank you.
Just a question, would you be willing to serve on the taste testing?
I would love
committee?
to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I assume they give the caloric content of these.
Well, Mr. Knezik, I promise you my children will be grateful and give you an I told you so once they see someone else actually eating the food.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Sherville. Thank you. If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote. I don't have anything.
8-4, none against.
Okay, I think item 4.3 was the item pulled. Mr. Centeni.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the establishment of a non-traditional school for identified at risk of dropping out of school students in grades 7 through 12 for the 2017-18 school year.
And Ms. Morris seconds the motion. Any questions or comments from any members of the public concerning the motion? From members of the board? Mr. Centeni?
I wanted to have a separate vote just to read a short bit from one of my constituents, Mr. Alcari, wrote a letter to the editor of the Advertiser, which unfortunately had the misfortune of being published in the physical paper on August 12th of this year, and everyone understandably was a little preoccupied on that day. But it was very complimentary of the superintendent and expressed many of the same feelings that I have about this school, where I think this is an incredibly important piece in our offerings to the students of Lafayette Parish. These are the students where I believe we can probably make the biggest difference, in that these are children who are most likely, not in all cases, most likely not going to college. These are children who are at risk of dropping out, as described in the agenda item. And not only not going to college, but dropping out. What are these kids going to do for the rest of their life if they don't leave high school with a diploma or skill or something that'll help them become productive citizens and support themselves? So in the model of Lafayette Charter High School, I think this is a fantastic idea. And to Mr. Alcare, he says, what Superintendent Donald Aguilar has done with this proposed school is provide just the right remedy for LPSS students who don't fit the traditional mold. I've been waiting for this type of flexible approach to teaching and learning for a long time. Disenfranchisement, as mentioned by Aguilar, is something that must be eliminated. All the right words were there: flexibility, year-round scheduling, online courses, blended instruction, a focus on leadership development and mentoring, free childcare, and access to community resources. This exemplifies tailoring a curriculum and environment to fit the needs of the students while overcoming the barriers they face. Just one more time, I love this idea. I support it wholeheartedly, and to Dr. Aguilar and his staff, I think you guys did a fantastic job putting this idea together.
Yes, sir. Mr. Knezik?
Dr. Aguilar, I have one question regarding how the school will be evaluated as far as SPS scores.
So much like the traditional schools, they'll be judged on their academic performance, and in the case of middle and high school students, high school students will be judged based on those EOC buckets, dropout rate, strength of diploma. So we want to make sure that we fill this school with students who are absolutely engaged in completing a high school diploma. We do not want this to be a second alternative school. We do not want this to be a site where they simply leave with a credential. We want students who are over age, who are disenfranchised with the traditional setting, to really be attracted to what this new school is going to offer. So the accountability piece will be much like the traditional schools.
Thank you. And one other comment I'd like to add is just that I like the idea of the fact that we as a school system are exercising our autonomy. We are taking a proactive approach to set up a school to fill the needs of our parish and our students. We're not waiting, nor do we need, nor are we really asked for some outside entity, including the state or Bessie, to say, hey, you should do it like this. This is how we as the state are going to come down, or the federal government are going to come down and solve your problems for you. We're deciding to solve our problems on our own and truly exercising that autonomy. And I think it's great. I think it's a great example, hopefully, for other districts to follow. So thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Broussard.
Dr. Aguilar, 2 questions. Do we need the blessings of Betsy? And what does that do to our exit and pathway program?
Okay, so the first question is no, we do not need permission to open a new school in the district. We did begin that pathway to ask for Bessie approval to create a Type 4 charter. It turns out we don't need their permission to do just what we're proposing. And I'm sorry, your second question was? Okay, well, so here's where we are. We're really talking about overage students who are behind their peer group. So Lafayette Parish has had a very robust connections program which addressed overage middle school students leading into the overage exiting pathways program. We want to attract those students. They're really the clientele we're seeking. They really are the largest number of students who ultimately end up as non-completers. So those are the kids that the district has not been able to fulfill their educational needs, not been able to keep them on track, not been able to get them to the 9th grade with the skills that they need. That's the group of students that we want to see become high school completers. And so this is just the model that's going to be attractive to 80% of those students.
Any other questions or comments? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote. Chairman.
8 for, none against.
Motion carries. The last item on our agenda is 4.25 bus driver qualifications. I'll give the floor to Mr. Santini. You asked that he be pulled.
Mr. President, I move that we, I guess I have to read the attachment now. It doesn't have a clear recommendation.
Mr. President, can someone just explain to us what the changes are? Because I don't think it makes it clear on here.
It
So
does
it's
not.
hard to know whether we want to make a motion to approve it or not.
Okay. I see. Mr. Craig?
The big difference is when you see current requirements, those are the requirements of the Lafayette Parish school system. And below that is Louisiana Department of Education requirements. The only difference between the two categories is currently in Lafayette Parish, you have to have a high school diploma or a GED, whereas the State Department of Education does not require that. And, you know, historically as an educational institution, I think we've always strived to have educated bus drivers. It's a mark that our employees have diplomas. In the current situation, we have a lot of bus drivers leaving the system for a variety of reasons, and we really are in a situation where we need bus drivers as quickly as possible.
Mr. Hidalgo?
Yeah, I'm sure there are several instances like this, but I just want to share one. I saw a Facebook post from a parent not too long ago that said that a certain bus 453 or whatever it was, on a Tuesday, will not be running this week. Please make arrangements to get your child to school. No, the arrangements is we're responsible to provide transportation. So it's a serious issue, and it's already hit us. It's not about to hit us. I would prefer if we had a higher standard, if you will. We certainly don't want to provide an unsafe experience for any child, but at the same time, I think there are plenty of people out there who are very capable, who may not meet some of the requirements that we have on the books, and there's a serious problem in the transportation department as it relates to bus drivers. So hopefully we can support this approval, at least for now.
May I construe that as a second? Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought.
Mr. President, I move that we allow the superintendent, during critical shortages of bus drivers, to reduce the current required qualifications of a bus driver. Well, let me also say, only to the requirements mandated by the Louisiana Department of Education.
Mr. Hidalgo seconded that motion. Any questions or comments from members of the public on this motion? Members of the board? Madam Secretary will call for the vote.
Is it the man in the floral shirt?
Well, is he here? Is he out there?
Did you want to speak?
Sir, would you like to speak on this motion? Yes.
Compartier?
You're welcome to speak to it. It's public comment. I think you made a good point in the hall. Why don't you come to the mic here? I didn't see him.
I've been a bus driver. It's a sub.
Push the button.
I've been driving.
Tell us your name, sir. Tell us
My
your
name's
name.
Mark Poche. I've been driving subs since '97, and this year I had got deactivated and said I didn't have a high school diploma. But there's plenty of drivers that drive cross country, drive for big companies like Dupre Transport. They don't need no GD or anything like it. So just because of that, y'all ain't gonna hire a man that can drive? I've been, like I said, driving. I never had no accidents, clean driving record. But this year they said, well, you need a high school diploma, or else, we can't hire you. I just want a sub,
Well, this motion would let you do that.
And I'm hopefully that we can get some drivers, Don't pay that much, but, that's it. So.
I look forward to having you back, sir, so hopefully this will pass.
Thank you, Mr. Poche.
All right.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir. You had your hand up?
I'd gladly like to have him for a bus driver. Yesterday, my child sat at LJ Alamo until 4:40 before someone allowed someone to call us to let us know that the bus is not running. We've still not gotten a call back. I did speak to someone today, but basically all week I took off early today. I work in an emergency room in Opelousas. And to come get my children and 8 other kids that are somehow got pulled off of a bus to go to another school. I have buses coming through my neighborhood for kids going other places in the parish, but yet someone in zone cannot be dropped off. in a timely manner? I don't understand. They're sitting 3 deep on this bus. They get into school some days right at the bell. Whatever y'all can do to get our children where they are, but at 4:30, when they're supposed to be off the bus at 4:05, 4:10, no call, no one knows anything, the principals weren't informed, or no one has an idea what's going on, it's time for something to happen here. I had a high schooler was dropped off across South College on the day of the flood in the rain with 2 other kids who have to cross the street. There's been other issues, and I started 3 weeks before school trying to figure out where these children were going to be dropped off. The high school students drop off was on Johnston Street, and the other drop off was on Girard Park, which is almost a mile each way. So we've gotten that adjusted, but it's taken 4 or 5 weeks to do that. So I'd appreciate anybody that could drive and, be safe with our children. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Broussard.
Mr. Craig, I don't see Mr. Evans in here. Don't we have a program or had a program that would assist people to get a GED to make them eligible and under the current criteria?
Yes, sir. We do have an adult education program. If the gentleman's interested or anybody in the community is looking towards a GED, we can hook them or connect them, contact with Miss Rabelais in adult ed.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir, Mr. Knizik.
Dr. Aguilar, what does a school bus driver make?
$53 a day?
$53 a day.
That's our...
About $14,000 a year.
Before taxes, and before retirement, and before Social Security?
Yes, sir.
That is a LPSS bus driver that drives one of our own buses. And what is the status of, and I know Mr. Evans isn't here, what's the status of the routing software? And I can't recall if we did the...
Versatrans?
Yeah, I can't recall if we did the tracking option.
We did the GPS option,
Okay.
yes.
We didn't do the student tracking.
We didn't do the student tracking option.
Yeah.
So the contract was signed back in July. This past 2 weeks, the representatives, the technicians have been installing the GPS units in all the buses. Almost all board buses now have their GPS units installed. We still have a significant number of units to install in the contract bus drivers' buses. We were hoping to have that done by this Friday. We are meeting with the contract drivers tomorrow. There's some of them have some concerns about the GPS units, so we're going to meet with the contract drivers tomorrow. We met with Versatrans, our representative that's going to work on us through this project, last week to start. He kind of gave us an overview of the software on the computers, and we've come up with a timeline for training. I don't have that with me, but we are installing the units and starting to work on installing the software on the computers.
And I don't need the answer now, but I think we decided not to do the student tracker, but maybe we could revisit it. I think we decided at the time to do a phase.
Yeah, because because it's an expensive component. There's certainly some advantages. The student flashes scans their ID, they get on the bus. Parent can log on to an app and at any time see my child is on a bus, he's not on a bus, he's at Johnson and Castile, he's sitting in the same spot for 10 minutes for whatever reason. It's got a lot of power, especially for the really young children, a lot of the pre-K kids. At any given time, you know where your child's at. A student on a Friday night, a high school student doesn't catch the bus home he hangs around school to go to a football game. Well, you get a parent calling saying, my kid's gone. Well, he never really even got on the bus, and it gives the administrators they can look for that child, and it gives them clues on what might be going on. It's a powerful program.
Thank you.
Centini?
Very quick, Ms. Morrison. There's a competency that we have to build up around card management as well. You know, it's not as simple as just, hey, let's print 30,000 cards, hand them out, and away we go, because kids will lose them, kids will forget them at home, they will wear out, they will fail, they will, you know, there's a whole big mess around card management.
Very true. It's a steep learning curve. So I actually don't have a problem with it being implemented in steps, but it's something we certainly want to consider once we get the rezoning done and get the new routes done.
In regards to the contract school bus drivers, is it a system you could turn off and on because they use their buses for other things, or once it's on, it's on?
Yes, ma'am. That's one of the things we want to share with the drivers, that, you know, we encumber their time from about 6 in the morning till 9 in the morning, then 1:30 to 4 o'clock. That's when we want to kind of know what's going on with the buses in terms of where they're at on a route. But beyond that, we want to communicate that to the contract drivers, that we really am not going to show up on Saturday to see where you're at with your bus.
I'd like to remind us that the motion is on the floor is these requirements. Dr. Chaplin.
I have a question about the motion. I was looking around like, well, they would have stopped me by now. Mr. Craig, how long is the actual program to receive your GED? I looked around for her. I didn't see her. I saw her earlier, but
it would depend on what skills you come into, and
you know,
so you take a placement test. Well, I guess if you're really not prepared for your GED, it could probably take you the better part of the year. I've had kids come to me in a high school setting that they just weren't successful in a traditional classroom, but they'd come in and they would test out ready to take the GED, and within a week's time they've got their GED. So it depends on their background experiences and how dedicated they are to working through the program. But it could easily take a year. It could take a couple weeks.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? If not, Madam Secretary, we'll call for the vote.
Eight, for, none against.
That was the last agenda item. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much and good evening.